The only trouble with all these Porsches, Ferraris and BMWs is that they're, well, not British. So to find a supercar which wears Union Jack boxer shorts on its little ends and which was designed by a man known to consult his dog, we sent Jeremy for a day out at the seaside.
Thanks very much. Wonderful. Blackpool seems to be stuck in a different century. There's something very old-fashioned, very decent about the place. And the same, it must be said, goes for its fish and chips, which, let's face it, are a lot more comfortable on the nether regions than chicken chili jalfrezi.
But here's the thing, OK, if you could combine the old-world charm of Blackpool with some of its thrills, you'd have a hell of a car! Bloody hell, fire!
And here is just such a car. A blend of traditionalism and gut-wrenching power. It's a TVR, and this is where it's made. Now, most car factories are quiet, clean, automated places. But this, remember, is Blackpool. What they do in this ramshackle collection of prefabs is fit huge engines to box girder bridges, and then they garnish the finished product with a bit of craftsmanship. It's not like a normal car factory, and that's not surprising, because it doesn't have a normal boss. Peter Wheeler doesn't like frills, he doesn't like suits, and he's the only man in the world who smokes more than I do. I like him a lot, which is why we'll start off with a simple question. So, Pete, what's with the plastic body shells, then?
It has a plastic body for a variety of reasons, but it's the last thing that should put people off buying the car. The material of the body is, for example, 10 times as expensive as steel. The only advantage of it to us is the fact that the tooling costs are a fraction of those for a steel-bodied car. The big advantage of fiberglass is that it is probably one of the best energy-absorbing materials that there is. It was said not long ago that BMW had spent more money on the tooling for their 7 Series dash than TVR spent in 40 years of its history on development, the whole of its car range, and it's probably correct. What it enables us to do is to make cars that are not made at a whim, but they are not... We don't do any market research whatsoever, and basically if we produce a car and everybody says, we don't like it, we're scrapping 100 grand and not 500 million, so it allows some flexibility. So far we haven't, in recent years at least, scrapped even 100 grand's worth of tooling, but that's probably more luck than judgment.
It may also have something to do with Ned. Now, Ned, I understand that you're chief stylist here at TVR. I think we've got one of the arty types here that won't talk. Do you need an agent or something?
His styling phase is over now. He basically sits in the accounts and runs the accounts department at the moment. But when he was a puppy, he did have a hand in some styling on the Chimera. Basically, he was trying to savage the guy who was trying to style it at the time and missed his head and bit a chunk out of the car.
So the indicator hole on a Chimera
was styled by Ned, yes.
Now, no one has ever accused TVR of making a boring car. However, I have heard questions asked about reliability. Well, this car here has done 69,000 miles, the last 3,000 of which were done by me on a huge trans-European thrash. I got to know it pretty well, and I can tell you it felt, and still does feel, as tight as Vanessa May's G-string.
But look, we're not here to talk about used TVRs. We're here because there's a new one.
So far this year, Volkswagen, Porsche and Volvo have dropped their coupes because they haven't been selling. But TVR reckons this one will buck the trend. It's called the Cerbera, it costs less than £40,000, and I won't beat about the bush here. It's just slightly better than fan-bleeding-tastic.
It's hard to know where to start, but I guess in here is as good a place as any. But it really is very, very spacious. I could join the brigade of guards and there'd still be enough space above my head for the requisite hat. I don't even have this seat pushed all the way back, and that's very rare in a car these days. No, make no mistake, the Cerbera is a comfortable beast if you're tall.
It rides well too. Thanks to the long wheelbase, it has a suppleness that I simply wasn't expecting.
They say it's the first TVR for 10 years to suit the family man. But only if you've defied science and managed to give birth to a couple of hamsters. Those back seats are pretty tiny.
But look, if you want 4 seats, buy a Mondeo. If they'd made it a proper 4-seater, it wouldn't look so good, and it wouldn't go quite so quickly. For the last 15 years, TVR has used the old Land Rover V8, but now they've gone into the engine business themselves. With, it must be said, some pretty startling results.
I don't have any figures to hand, but I can tell you this. I am driving the noisiest, most exciting and fastest car this side of a Lamborghini Diablo. If you want to achieve the same effect as this car in your kitchen, just put the engine from a Type 42 destroyer in your tumble dryer.
Basically, we designed the engine as a race engine. It was my idea at the time that if we wanted to expand, we ought to make something that we could sell to other people. So we've ended up with a 75-degree V8 with a flat plane crank. The bottom half of the engine up to the heads is exactly as you would see in a current Formula One engine. To make the engine more compact and fit the car, we chose to go for an unusual cylinder head design in such that it's a single overhead 2-valve layout, which, because obviously on a road car you can't use the very high revs that Formula One engines rev to try and get the torque a bit lower down. And I'm not sure Lexus would want to come and buy it for its refinement, but it's a very sporting engine indeed. There are a lot of people who flash pretend horsepower numbers around. I can tell you, when you've got 360 horsepower in a car that weighs just over a ton, it becomes a very quick car.
.360 horsepower. It has got to have a government health warning on it somewhere. It looks like something out of Aliens. I mean, this is weapons-grade power. From 0 to 100 miles an hour, the Cerbera will out-drag a Tornado jet. Out-techno it as well. You don't open this huge door with anything so mundane as a door handle. No, you just think your way in.
It's the same story on the inside. I love the way they've grouped these instruments above and below the steering wheel. I love the buttons on the steering wheel. I love the swoopiness of this dash. It's like something out of the 50s, the 2050s. A time when you don't start a car with anything so dull or tedious as a key. Engine start.
Don't get confused here, though. This is not a gizmo car. It has no sunroof, no traction control, no trip computer. It does have a stereo, but you may have noticed it hasn't been on. We've hardly played any music because the Cerbera brought its own along.
Just listen to this noise.
Eat your heart out, Tchaikovsky. When it comes to a good old tune, the Cerbera makes your 1812 sound like Michael Bolton. Today, this is about the only all-British car you can buy, but that's only part of the reason why I absolutely adored it. It's like a cross between Jonah Lomu and a Dodge Viper. I just couldn't help driving it until I ran out of land.
You know, whenever I road test a car on top gear, I'm usually left at the end with one abiding memory. The Ferrari 355, the best. The Lamborghini Diablo, brutal. Jaguar, comfortable. Nissan Sunny, well, there's the exception that proves the rule. And this, fast. Very, very fast.